Sick. We are unmuted. Hello, everyone. Howdy, howdy. Yeah, it's Netrunner's so sick. I can't wait to be wrong.
Netrunner rules. This is gonna be sweet.
I'm so stupid.
Hi, I'm Sly9. I'm gonna be showing Kobuddy and Ty some Netrunner cards and asking them how they think about it, how they feel.
Yeah.
What do they think?
I'm sure we'll get it perfectly every step of the way. And,
yeah, definitely.
No problems.
So, this is Snare.
Oh, we're starting with this.
Oh, we're starting with Snare, huh? Okay.
I don't know. Why not? Why not? Tell me about Snare.
Oh, God.
Ideas?
What do you think of Snare?
I mean, dealing 3 net damage and the tag seems pretty good.
So, like, here's my evaluation of Snare, which is weird and feels very Netrunner specific. So, as a corporation, your deck has to have a certain ratio to be legal, correct?
You do have to include enough agendas based on your deck size.
You almost certainly have to, like, present deck list for your opponent to be able to review to guarantee your deck is legal.
Not at a tournament. I think that would only really happen at like a top 8 level. You would, when you go to a tournament, you're.
But at a top 8 level, they would do that, so you would know your opponent is being a piece of and running one snare specifically to you up.
Snare one.
That's what I'm feeling like. Is Snare X1 would be the funniest in a deck list every time, just because your opponent has to constantly be like, oh man, it's turn 1. I should be able to just make a run for free. But
so yeah, what do you think on this? You mentioned it being a pretty funny one.
I think Snare is like, I'm gonna say it's playable as a one of, specifically as an implied threat, but running 3 of them costing 6 points. Well, by the way, what is the maximum copies? Is it 3?
3. So yeah, your deck size is normally 45.
45, so it's 3. Okay, so it's same ratio. Got it. Okay.
Yes.
In that case, 6 points to run 3 of these feels rough. So like from an MtG evaluation point, I feel like you would run one of these in a lot of decks, but not more than one. I'm just not sure how valuable your flex points are. It sounds insanely valuable, so like even the idea of blowing 2 on something like this that's like maybe goes off feels shaky, but I'm not sure how the outside of color cost. But Jinteki just gets to run this for free, right? Is the idea?
I was about to say, yeah, Jinteki can just run 3 of these.
Correct.
Right?
You don't pay the flex point.
Okay, so I guess then if you're in Jinteki, maybe you run 3 of these.
Yeah, I could see these being very scary in Jinteki.
So yeah, this is like the platonic ideal of a trap. This is the card that you see and you go, hell, it's gonna be a snare. And you do see people playing not only 3 of this in Jinteki decks, but pulling it in to decks that are trying to kill rather than trying to score. That's one of the things you see, because this hand, like, you might be designing your deck with 20 points that I'm never playing. You might be designing your deck with that in mind. Or you might just think, you know what? I want to make it a very hard proposition for my opponent to run on R&D, and this is a way to make that difficult.
I wish to assassinate my political opponents.
I love the idea of just like, there's like a win condition and you can do it. You also can just shoot your opponent in the head. Like, have you thought about that?
If there's not a runner, I've already won.
You like play one thing to ramp your money, you play one deck or like resource down, and you get clipped by a snare, and I guess that puts you at 0, which doesn't kill you. You need to go to -1 to die.
Yes, you do have to.
Yeah,
you have to go to -1 to die.
And runner isn't forced to draw. You get 4 clicks, whereas Corp gets forced draw plus 3 clicks.
That's correct. That's the outcome on those.
Still, man, that's like living up. I mean, it's one of those things that like it is evil to sit here and be like, you only have to discard your own whole hand. How bad could that be? Like, as a Magic the Gathering player, that someone plays like a funny bird that takes one of my cards, and I'm like, I'll kill you. I'll drive to your house. Like, so like, how bad could losing your whole hand be? Oh, very, very. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Here's Wall of Thorns. This is a piece of ice. It's a piece of defense that you pay for, and the runner has to get through to either get to whatever one server that it's defending. Has 2 subroutines. The first one will deal 2 net damage, and the second one will end the run and put the runner on their next action.
God, that is such a brutal choice to have to make if you can only break one of them too. Good.
Yeah. It being 8, like, I mean, we saw that 18 one earlier. I'm just trying to think of like how much the average money you're holding.
Corp, we've already seen that they have, I mean, both sides have a card, right? That's like put in 4, get 9 out. And that feels, to me at least, like that's like a staple action level of card. Like you just have to assume anybody can do that. So like if you can ramp to 8 pretty quickly, this seems really good. I'm going to go out on a limb and say this is quite good.
Yeah, I'm still a little hesitant on the 8, just because I'm still kind of grabbing my footing in terms of costs and whatnot, but yeah, this card does seem pretty good.
So this one's in here as the dud.
Yeah!
This is near unplayable.
Is 8 just too expensive? Okay.
If you are paying 8, you need a card that like has a constant effect outside of just being stop you. Money's pretty important.
Yeah.
So here's another 8.
Speaking of money being important.
Here's another 8 from the same set that Wall of Thorns is in.
Yeah, that makes sense. This one's the same strength. It costs 8. And quick question: when they pay, do they pay it to you?
No, they just pay.
They just get rid of it. Okay.
I mean, that's still making a... Because I'm assuming, even if they are able, just based on reading this card, even if they are able to pay the 3, this subroutine still tells them end the run.
Yes, they would have to break it on top of things.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good... Okay, so that if the runner cannot pay 3, end the run, and that little arrow is always like the divider of this is a separate line of text, this is a separate subroutine from the rest of the card above it.
Yeah.
Okay, God, that's a good indicator. Man, I wish other card games would have like a definitive, like all of this happens and then this, because there are so many times. I'm looking at you, questing beast, you piece of So when it said earlier, break subroutine specifically, would you be allowed to break the top part of this text or only the stuff after the arrows?
Subroutine's only an arrow.
Ooh, this is good then, huh?
Yeah.
This is like pretty good then. If you just have to eat the booth every time, that makes this way better. Because that means you have to run into this, deal with it, and then break a subroutine on top of it. So this is like... This seems like a very like solid upper mid like gate. That's a nasty tax effect if you have to hit that shit multiple times.
Yeah, okay. You found this one's trick. This looks exactly the same as our previous card, but whereas Wall of Thorns is near unplayable, Tollbooth represents, even if the runner, at some point the runner's going to get to a point where they have assembled the perfect board. Like, so I have the most...
They have like icebreakers and consoles, and they just run through you.
But running through Tollbooth, even if you have like the cheapest way of breaking this with the cheapest breakers, you gotta pay 3 on top of that, always. Like you would have to have some way of bypassing the effect in a very, very specific manner to sidestep it. That's
like a weird Yu-Gi-Oh side interaction of just like, this card is weirdly hard to interact with. Like, oh, okay, why? It's confusing.
Yep. But yeah, so yeah, the fact that is not a subroutine, that is effectively a passive, really changes.
Sure.
Yeah. So tell me about it.
Motherfucker.
Tell me about Hedge Fund.
I'll just say this is like a tough thing to evaluate, but especially based on now that we know like $8 is like huge impact. getting 4 for 1 card, especially because it sounds like the Corp doesn't always want to draw. This seems insanely good for Corporation. I'm not sure if the runner side is going to be quite as cracked, but this seems like just absolutely core action. Also, I can't help but notice this costs 0 pips of any color, so it's just every deck.
Yeah, you just slam it.
Every deck plays this. Every deck.
Busted! Every deck plays this. He said it. He said it.
Every deck plays this. Fun thing I mentioned earlier. You know how much your starting money is?
5.
He said 5. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah, sure.
That's nice. That's great.
Yeah.
You know what the most annoying turn 1 could be out of a Corp?
Hedge fund into putting down something that you're like, well, this could be an 8-piece cost of ice, I guess.
Hedge fund, ice, HQ, ice R&D, pass the turn. That's like every turn 1 I've ever seen in this game. You know, like it.
All right, yeah. Okay, so like this is like normal rate. I mean, the ability seems really nice for like snowballing a game out of control. Like, just, oh no, I'm out of money. Good news, I get it at double speed. Seems like a pretty flexible option. This feels really unexciting, but it's a case of like, I don't know how impactful agendas are really supposed to be. Is this colorless, or is this actually like a colored card?
This is Wayland, which is one of the 4 factions. That'll probably be the next part.
Are agendas like hard locked to their...
Agendas are hard locked. You cannot pull them.
Oh, okay. So that makes the quality of them need to be a lot lower too. If you're just hard locked to a very small selection. I'm willing to guess and say this is really solid then, on just having like a solid stat line. It does a thing that's like fine.
So I'm actually kind of in an opposite direction. I think this card's like pretty aggressively mid.
I mean, that's kind of where I am. It's like solid. Like, it's fine. It's playable, but it's not exciting. Yeah.
I think 5 just feels like really too much when you could probably be advancing other agendas that probably do more and just faster. The 2 ticks to gain $4 seems okay on face, but thinking about it, I'm not sure how much it actually comes into play.
It feels like a really like Chillwind Yeti ass card, where like at release this was probably okay, like solid, and maybe now it's like butt cheeks. Yeah, it's hard to say.
This one was basically always cheeks.
Okay.
It just doesn't do enough. The ability, especially, like a couple of people are saying starter deck filler, and that's a real good way to put this one.
This feels like a core set card in Magic. Yeah, 100%.
Like this,
like really unimpressive. Vanilla stat line has an okay ability, like one step removed from vanilla.
Yeah, one of the big problems is that the ability on this is not nearly as strong as you might think.
No, considering you can spend 1 click for 4 with a card that everybody loves and craves, having reusable
you can't
2.
do it. Yeah, reusable 2 is strong, but the problem is it's 2/3.
It's 2/3 of your damn turns.
Yeah.
So you're stuck on that. And the other bit is that it the higher. So like you are having to play 20-ish points in your deck. If this gets stolen as a singular card on a singular access, your opponent's effectively stolen half of the game.
Half the win con, yeah.
Let's start with that. This is the base Jinteki identity. There are a number of different identities with different both like main ability and different deck size and influence. This is the general that you're going to see. 45-15 is like not the floor, but is the norm.
Okay.
So,
I mean, like, they named the damn website after this. I mean, I feel like this just has to be like solid, but more because of all the things it represents attached to it, right? Like, it's more just like the Jinteki archetype plays into this kind of stuff very effectively.
I mean, whenever agenda is scored or stolen, do one net damage. That just seems like a very solid ability.
Or stolen, I feel like, is a really fucked up piece of text right there. It's just like, yeah, because like, oh yeah, if you score one, you get upside. Great. You get to punish your opponent for doing the right thing, and that's awesome. That's always good. Like, way to win the game, idiot. Get hit is like a pretty good option.
There are cards in universes that effectively say, hey, is your opponent playing the game? Draw a card. Yeah, so...
yeah, this is an extremely powerful ident. Jinteki Personal Evolution P has been around for a long time. Not always legal. Was banned for a short period.
Sick. Love that. Love to think a card's good and then find out it's banned. Let's go.
Yeah. Haas-Bioroid. I don't know if we've even touched a Haas-Bioroid card. First time you install a card, gain a buck.
Huh.
This again feels like it's like probably pretty low impact. Also, I don't know, is install as likely as the other? I guess that's like the core question, right? Is like, how often do you install cards?
The word install is placing a card on the board.
Okay, so that's like basically guaranteed you get +1 buckaroo every turn. I don't know, to me that reads as like a solid core identity, but probably is outdone by other Haas-Bioroid purple cards, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm not entirely... Obviously, I can't say future cards that this identity got, but yeah, just every time you... Or not every time, but the first time you play a card a turn. And since you only get to... At maximum, you only get to play 3 cards a turn. Getting that extra dollar seems pretty good.
Yeah, and the only once per turn doesn't feel like as much of a downside based on like the common Corp play pattern Slyo's mentioned of like install advance, and then like advance, maybe install something like that. Like you're not always playing like 3 cards every turn or something, so that once per turn restriction is probably okay.
Actually, thinking about it, you slam down an agenda, and then you instantly get $1 you can spend to pay towards that agenda.
And I mean, like, that's fine. I'm just wondering how much, like, it feels like there's a ceiling on $1 per turn hard limit. And, like, this is kind of that. Because it's just like, yeah, you're going to get it every turn. It's also $1. Like, that's kind of the choice is, like, it's the most consistent $1, but it's $1.
So I don't think anything's better than $1 a turn. I don't know that they've ever printed. I don't know that there's an HB identity I would think is stronger than the ATF here.
$1 free per turn is just like mad good.
$1 per turn. You know how much dollars you're going to get off of the transactions you played out of Building Better World? It's like 6 to 9 based on how many transactions are in your deck.
Wait, I guess
times you're triggering this every turn.
Quick important question that we kind of never covered. How many turns is like a Netrunner game usually?
Well, somebody has to score 7 points. And
it usually takes at least 2 turns to score even like a 3.1. So like at minimum 5 to 9 turns probably.
I would say like it is not unreasonable to be sitting in double digits.
Okay, yeah, that changes this a lot too, because I'm so used to games where it's like, turn 3, I kill you. Turn 3, I'm done building my cannon. It's over. So
noise, whenever you install a virus program, that's a subtype of a program, the Corp trashes the top card of R&D. So they put it from R&D into archives face down. You don't get to see it unless you take the time to go check it.
Yeah, I can only go off my like instincts of other games, right? Like that's the whole point of this exercise.
Yeah.
In any other game, this is the worst effect I've ever seen in my life. In any other game, this is so nothing. It's insane. Like, there's this whole concept, right? That it's really, really hard for new players to grasp. Hell, it's hard for players who I've known who've been playing card games for 10 years to grasp sometimes, which is when your deck is face down and you have a pile of however many cards. It is a probability cloud, and you need to treat it as such. Removing a random element you don't observe from the probability cloud is functionally doing nothing. Like, it's the same as taking a card. Of course, there might be like more interactions you can do with face down cards and discard pile in Netrunner. That's the whole caveat, right? But like, usually that's just nothing. Like, that's like hell, in other games, putting cards in your opponent's graveyard is upside for your opponent. Like, God forbid you put a card in your opponent's graveyard in Yu-Gi-Oh! That might just make them nut. Like, you have to be careful with that.
Cool. Thanks. All of my cards do things in the grave.
Yeah, this does feel like maybe a little bit better in here than in other games.
I was gonna, for the record, this is like a case of like, this would be so terrible in any other game that I'm sure there has to be like some element that is Netrunner specific that I'm missing. Because there's like no way you would show me this if it was like the worst card ever printed. I feel like.
Yeah, this is the core ident for Anarch from the core set.
Oh, so maybe it is just bad.
I think this is probably like, it feels pretty mid. Like, I do think Mill is maybe has the potential to be a bit stronger in Netrunner than it does in other card games, but
so I guess
it's still not great.
So like the trick niche case I could think of, right, is the corporation has started building up servers. They've started putting defense in front of it, and they're not defending their graveyard because why the hell would they defend their fucking graveyard? And then you somehow manage, especially if you have like low cost viruses, to start forcing them to just like mill and just like dump into their graveyard. Because if they have like 4 or 5 cards that they've dumped in there and you make a run on it, that's like statistically, there's a good chance there's an agenda in there, right? So like, that math gets a little complicated, and it also is a question of like, how much do corporations hate defending their graveyard? Because I'm thinking I'm going to my mind palace and playing a pretend game of Netrunner, and I'm hating having to put something down to defend my graveyard. It's pissing me off thinking about it.
So yeah, where are you landing? What are you thinking?
I'll just say bad, and if I'm wrong, I'll hold that.
I was gonna say, I think Ty convinced me a little bit to say it's a bit better than mid, but I still don't think it's particularly amazing.
You can hold the L. This is this was design level mistake good.
Yeah. Okay. So is it just way too easy to recur and like dump a bunch of shit in the archives, or like what messes it up?
So again, in any other card game, you mill a card. That card's gone. It doesn't. It might as well be on the bottom of the deck, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, unless you kill them, milling for 1 is the least impactful effect in a game of Magic. Often it is downside for doing it, yeah.
But the Corp deck is where all the win condition is. That's where all the points live. Okay. And you know, as the runner, you want to steal points in some way from the board, from their hand, from their deck. But if you put, you know, say 4 or 5 cards in their graveyard, as you said, they have to not just defend those, but if say you mill 2 agendas, you can't just like defend those. You have to defend them forever. Because if they get in there ever, they steal them all.
Oh, you can take multiple agendas in one run.
So yeah, when you run HQ, maybe a missing piece for how it works. When you run HQ, you see 1 card.
Yeah.
When you run R&D, you see.
Oh my God! They let you pull the whole graveyard.
You get the whole graveyard.
What the were they thinking?
So you take your turn, you set up a couple cards, get some cash, get pass, and Noise is like, all right, get some money, play a couple viruses, go, and you mill 4 points worth of agendas off of the 2 cards.
Ugh.
What do you do?
Act like you don't care is the most important thing. I think the most important thing is don't be flustered. Don't look at your opponent and go, because then you're dead.
Yep. Do you even bother to defend the grave? You know, like it's such a. That's the part I love about Netrunner is where you're like,
what do you do? Lie. That's all you have.
Because. Andromeda has no ability past turn 1.
And you normally draw 5 cards, right?
5 cards.
And so the weird thing here, right, is Corporation has a mandatory draw at the beginning of their turn, but Runner
Hacker
doesn't.
does not, or Running, yeah.
Yeah,
Do you discard down to 5? Yeah, this is not your hand size is 9. This is your starting hand.
Yeah,
so
I was about to ask that.
This is just your opener.
Word. So you really have to accelerate on turn 1, but like also 9 cards, man. Do you know what I've seen adult men do to other adult men to draw 3 cards? And you're telling me I can draw 9? An additional 4 draws is like borderline guarantee. Like I honestly think if you have a starting draw of 9 and you know what? I'm doing the math. Hold up, Kobuddy, you
It's time to pull out the
Kobuddy,
hypergeometry
you talk about how you feel. I'm doing math.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot of what I think. This card is either like incredibly strong or straight garbage. Those kind of effects that like you get a massive buff at the start and then don't do anything for the rest of the game are always kind of hard to evaluate.
Okay, so from a mathematics standpoint, I'm gonna hit y'all up with this. So and I'm getting rated while I do math. This is the best.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ilian. How are you doing?
Hey, Ilian.
Andromeda, there's one more point I want to give to you. Just now that you've locked in what you're saying, I just want to mention one more bit about how Netrunner functions. And that is the mulligan rules. In Netrunner, you just have one free mulligan. You can throw your hand back, shuffle, and draw back, and you have to keep hand 2. You mulligan 9.
They let you do the mulligan twice, so it's even okay. One sec, hypergeometric coming back.
How many times do you get if you won the one?
So
Andromeda was the ident that I won Worlds with in 2013, and don't feel bad about that.
Okay, so it's good then.
It's pretty good.
Pretty good then.
Just the classics of card. And this is something we've talked a lot about. How much are you willing to pay to draw 3 cards?
How much will you give to draw 3 cards?
How much? You know, how much would I be willing to pay to draw 3 cards?
Only 2 outside of faction points, huh?
Yeah.
You know,
I'm sorry, I play too many card games. I can't say this is. I legally can't say this is anything other than maybe the best card in the game because
that just
0 draw 3. That's probably the best card in the game, 3. Right? Yeah.
How much am I willing to pay?
Yeah. Oh well, it isn't the best card in all of Magic.
It's 0 draw 3. Yeah, why would you not play this?
I am willing to say Diesel is so good, it was intended as like part of the color's identity of just like, we are allowed to build green cards in such a way that they need extra draw because we know Diesel exists.
Excellent. Okay. Before we get to Diesel, I also want to hit you with Anonymous Tip.
Wait, but that's the same, but it costs 1 less. Hey, wait.
No. This is NBN. This is the Corp side.
Oh, I mean, but still.
I want to hear thoughts before I want to talk about these as a whole before we hit them all. You know.
Okay. Immediately, draw is way stronger runner side than it is Corp side. Pure, just straight up, because the runner has the ability to say, "I'm good," and not draw, which that means like inherently the corporation is forced to draw 1 every single turn, and like they have to consider that as part of their economy. Whereas if you're on runner side and you can say like, I just draw 4 cards right now and I just don't draw cards for the next 3 turns, I just turn that into a different form of advantage. That's nuts. That flexibility on the draw option is great because like it gives you an extra click, right? If you're willing to deny your draw for the turn, whereas like corporation doesn't have access to that. Also, like, what if you're playing against Criminal that's constantly making runs on your hand and you draw more cards? And does Corp have a hand cap size?
5.
God!
When you hit above 5, you know, when you're playing Andromeda, you know, you play 3 cards and you had 6. You discard 1. Great. If you're playing as Corp, you have 6 cards. You discard 1. do archives.
Yeah, and archives, as we've been over, is like
Yeah.
not a good thing to fill for you. That's like terrible for you. Also, think about it in that, because I was thinking the hand cap size. It's discard at end of turn, right? In Netrunner? Generally?
Yep.
Okay. Because, like, think about if you're the corporation and you have 4 cards in hand and like 2 of them are agendas that you're kind of like iffy on playing, but you like have some stuff you can do with it and like you maybe have some other stuff here and there. You draw and like, God forbid, what if you end up with 4 agendas in your hand? Now you have to make the worst choice on the planet of, do I dump an agenda or do I dump a playable? Or even worse, it's random, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is it random for Corp end of turn?
End of turn, you choose.
EOT is you choose. Okay, sick.
EOT
Even then, though, like that means you now have to make the choice between like my 3 playables or my 3 agendas. Which, like, is it worse to have an agenda in your hand or in the grave? Because it seems like both suck. It seems like both are really bad.
I'm so happy to hear you arguing about why draw 3 is bad.
You've done it, man. You've made it happen. And it's
Like, damn,
because
how much am I willing to pay
many-
for draw 3? None. I ain't paying for that.
Yeah, because Corp side, like, drawing is just so much worse between the tiny hand cap, the fact that holding points in your hand is a huge liability, and having to dump points into your graveyard is even fucking worse. Like, God forbid you're playing against noise and you just put an agenda in the graveyard and you're like, what? They're like, great, I was gonna try and do that anyway. Like, yeah, it's funny. I feel like this one really is like anonymous tip, borderline unplayable. The other one, like, top 3 best cards in the game.
Yeah.
That also leads to the other side of things with Diesel, which is like good. It's like pretty good. It's like you're really happy to play it, but it's not like this ain't top 3. This is like, all right, I got Diesel. That's great because you can always draw cards. Like, in Magic, you can't just choose to draw 3 cards. In Netrunner, you can. Which does lower the power of the card. And you have to spend the click on playing it. It like, not gonna say it's bad in any way. Not gonna say it's
No, but it's
like,
not as much of a blowout just because, like, the ability to draw multiple cards is always on the table for runners.
Yep, yeah. So it makes it good. It's great. If you're playing a deck, like if you're playing, as far as card draw goes, very efficient, very good. And if you want to be finding cards, especially, great, A+, be playing it. But it's like, yeah, all right, yeah, like that's Diesel. But yeah, anonymous tip basically doesn't see play. Diesel, yeah, you're gonna see Diesel around. It's like
That's so funny.
So yeah, one of my favorite things about like talking about Netrunner is that it completely turns cards on their sides because they're like, well, it's what would I do for a draw 3? Well, if I'm NBN, I'll pass. Thanks.
And that's what's so funny is, like, even when you presented the first one, I'm like, this draw 3 can't be bad. And then you showed, you're like, it's the same thing but Corp side. I'm like, draw 3 can be bad. Like, that's unbelievable. I can't believe it. What a cool game.
So yeah, Netrunner, sweet game.
Yeah.
As you know, as someone who's played it for such a long time, love to show it off to more of y'all, and love to have y'all looking at these. And it's great hearing you go through your thought process and come up with, like, when we're looking at vanilla, you're like, wow, this is really cheap. But
How is
okay, maybe this
3 bad? Who did this? Who came into my house and wrote draw 3 is bad on my board?